Today we're getting into the latest Tesla news, including massive sales of the new Model Y, Tesla's Model Q coming earlier than expected, the return of an option on the Model 3, and more, so let's get into it, and a special thanks to Mando for sponsoring a portion of this video. First up today, the big question for many people who are new to EVs is how long will they last, and how long specifically will Teslas last? Well, thanks to Tesla vehicles being on the road for quite some time at this point, we oftentimes get great data on how long these vehicles are actually lasting in the real world. Tesla's own reports showed about 12% battery degradation after 200,000 miles on Model S's and X's, and then 15% on Model 3s and Ys. And now we have a real-world example of a Model S from 2019 that has gone through the ringer. This one has 250,000 miles on it and was recently tested by Out of Spec. This was a Tesla Model S standard range with its original 75 kilowatt-hour battery, and originally that had an EPA-rated range of 285 miles per charge. So that car isn't too old compared to some other Model S's, but it was driven pretty hard and did 250,000 miles in 6 years. Before we go any further, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Mando. I'm someone who tries to keep active, but no matter where my activities take me, I know that Mando will keep me smelling clean with their whole body deodorants. Mando is specially formulated by a doctor who saw just how poorly BO was being treated. That's why they created their high-performance full-body deodorant that you can apply everywhere, such as pits, packages, and feet, so you can stop bad odors anywhere that they start. Their special formula has been clinically shown to fight odors better than a shower with soap alone. 12 hours after a shower, the average man reported an odor level of 5 out of 10, but Mando users were at a 0 out of 10. Mando is also cruelty-free, skin-safe, pH-balanced for anywhere on your body, and they offer a wide range of aluminum-free products. The starter pack I received included 5 different products. First is their Mount Fuji Solid, which I like in particular because it reminds me of fresh, clean air. Second is the Pro Sport Invisible Cream, which I like for its light citrus smell. Third is the Cloverwoods Invisible Spray, which has a very crisp, woodsy smell that I love. Fourth is the Bourbon Leather Acidified Body Wash, which leaves a great leather essence. And then fifth are their deodorant wipes. While a lot of deodorant brands just try to cover up odors, Mando actively works to stop them before they even form. You can choose from 4 different scents that are all unique: Bourbon Leather, Cloverwoods, Mount Fuji, and Pro Sport. They even have unscented, and they reduce your odor for up to 72 hours without staining your clothes. Mando's starter pack bundle is a great deal for new customers. It comes with a full-size stick deodorant, cream tube, or spray deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, like the mini body wash and deodorant wipes. As an added benefit, it also qualifies for free shipping to all customers. To try Mando out for yourself, go to the link in the description below and use code RYAN5 for $5 off your starter pack. That's a 40% value. Out of Spec was actually able to get this car for under $10,000, including options and FSD. For their range test, they did a 70 mile per hour highway test, which was between temperatures of 40 and 50 degrees with winds about 20 miles per hour. They ended up achieving 203 miles and consuming 57.8 kilowatt hours, which means an efficiency of about 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour. What's especially impressive is that this efficiency is comparable to Tesla's newest models that are the most efficient, like the Model 3 Performance, which they got 3.8 miles per kilowatt hour with. Ultimately, this is a great example of Tesla vehicles lasting a long time and keeping up with their performance and efficiency in time. Of course, this is a Model S, which uses a different battery cell form factor than the Model 3 and Y, so results will be different on those more popular, more affordable vehicles, but this is impressive to see nonetheless. Also, it's a great example of buying a used Tesla at a great price. That 250,000 miles is a lot, but under $10,000 for a car that's still performing this well is pretty incredible. Next up today, as Tesla is on the cusp of the release of the new Model Y, which we'll talk about in a little bit, some of the more exciting news coming from that company is this next car that should be more affordable. They've talked about more affordable cars for a long time, and originally this took the shape of an entirely new vehicle that they were going to build using their unboxed manufacturing process. Eventually, that all got rolled into the Robotaxi, which seems to be a completely separate vehicle. However, on the other side of things, they're going to make a new, more affordable car that uses aspects of that next-generation platform, as well as aspects of their current platforms, so that this car can be made on existing assembly lines, but come in cheaper than their currently available vehicles. There's all sorts of speculation about what these cars will end up being, and we'll talk about that a little bit, but first up is the timeline. Tesla has reiterated a couple times on the last few earnings calls that more affordable vehicles are coming within the first half of 2025. They even said that on their most recent earnings call, which shows that they are on track since that earnings call happened within 2025. However, knowing Tesla, that usually means that this is coming the last possible month of that timeline. For instance, the Cybertruck was released in Q4 of 2023, but that meant December of 2023. Sometimes Tesla even pushes it to the wire towards the last days of a month so that they actually meet that timeline. And sometimes that's just a very limited rollout, so they can say that they did it, but then things scale up over the next year. Here I've kind of been expecting the same thing, that hopefully we will see these cars sometime in 2025, but the first half may be a stretch. But now rumors are coming out saying Tesla is actually ahead of schedule here. Likely things are going very well with the new Model Y release and getting production scaled on that car's release. So rumors are that Tesla is ahead of schedule for early Q2 release of this more affordable vehicle. So as far as the timeline, that means April or May. March, we should see first deliveries of the Model Y Juniper in all markets, and then April or May, we may see this all entirely new vehicle. Here's a great rumor of what we kind of hope that this vehicle looks like. Something that shares a lot with their current offerings with the Model 3 and Y, but then comes in some sort of a smaller shape. That smaller shape will make it, of course, more affordable for them to build, will make it more efficient, and thus will make it so that Tesla can put a smaller battery pack in it. Ultimately, at the end of the day, still today, the most expensive part about an electric car is the battery. So if Tesla can make a smaller battery pack, that means they can make a more affordable vehicle. Here, the hope is that they can still offer a decent range at a decent price, but it will be fine since it's that smaller package, and for those that need a bigger car, they can upgrade to a more expensive vehicle. Some people have speculated, though, that these more affordable vehicles will simply just be variations or different trims of their current cars. Maybe it's going to be the exact same trim of the Model Y, just in some sort of standard range form that they haven't shipped recently, but helps bring down the price. Maybe this is referring to the rear-wheel drive Cybertruck. Some of those things could be possible, but I really do think Tesla has distinguished this quite enough to say that these are different vehicles. So even if this is just some sort of Model 3 hatchback or Model Y that's just shrunk a little bit, it will be a different body shape than they've shipped before. At least that's the hope. What I do think will be funny, though, is that if Tesla launches a new vehicle with a different shaped body than they've shipped before, it will be actually quite popular. People like change and they like new things from companies like Tesla, who hasn't really updated their cars in quite some time. Of course, we've gotten these impressive refreshes of the Model 3 and Model Y. We now have the Cybertruck, of course, but that's not really a mass production vehicle, and for the Model 3, Y, S, and X, those are just refreshes on those older original shapes. So if Tesla comes out with a new, smaller car, it actually may prove to be very popular, and they may take the same approach that they've taken with the Cybertruck and the Model Y, have a foundation series or a launch series that comes with an upcharge. For the Cybertruck, that was $20,000 extra with all the options, and for the Model Y, it's about $12,000 extra. So maybe at launch, Tesla will release this car, but it will actually come out at about $50,000 since it comes fully loaded with full self-driving, upgraded paint, upgraded wheels, and all sorts of bells and whistles. Then once they get through the initial run of people buying this car at a not actually more affordable price, then they get down to a lower price of $30,000 or $35,000. I think that a price tag of about $34,990 may be what Tesla ultimately tries to go for, but given that the Model 3 still starts above $40,000 today, we could see that creep up a little bit, maybe closer to $38,000, and then of course, with the tax credit that's still available today, it approaches about $30,000. I hope that it will come down below that in time, but especially at launch it may be popular, so we may actually see it not be quite that affordable. At the same time, Tesla has talked about multiple different affordable vehicles, so we'll have to see what all of these different ones mean. Are they just different variations and trims of the same vehicle, or are they planning to truly make a different Model Y, a different Model 3, or an entirely new vehicle like this Model Q? Now that Model Q idea came out of a joke of people who were very skeptical about Tesla and didn't think that they could achieve anything that they have achieved today. So ultimately, them getting to a more affordable vehicle like this is something people think would never happen, and it's Tesla kind of making a joke of it and acknowledging it. But as far as naming goes, we have no idea what this may be called. It may be a Model Y Mini, it may simply be a standard range Model Y, or it may be some new name entirely. A lot of people have thrown out Model 2 for a long time, but none of these names are actually coming from Tesla. Either way, it seems like within the next couple months, we might actually be seeing what this vehicle is. But what do you think? Do you think Tesla will launch a new car in a new shape that may be actually quite popular at launch and come at a premium? Or do you think Tesla is simply talking about different trims of their existing vehicles? Leave a comment below to let me know your thoughts. Next up today, we're on the cusp of the new Model Y refresh getting released and first customers receiving their cars. As such, Tesla is sending out delivery dates, and we originally were seeing some delivery ranges that included dates like the end of February into March. Now it seems that for pretty much all order holders, at least in the United States and similar markets, March is now becoming the official delivery timeline. If you're unfamiliar with that delivery process, Tesla will push this back and give you a time range that kind of frustratingly keeps getting pushed back. But ultimately it will narrow and you typically get your car somewhere in that range, unless something goes terribly wrong at Tesla. In any case, as this car is launching, Tesla is also sending a lot of them out to showrooms to have on display, and then they're starting test drives. I think this in part may be because they're needing a little more demand for this car, especially in markets like the United States, but more on that in just a minute. First, we're seeing test drives available in Austin and Dallas, Texas, and people have already test driven this car. So far, reports from people who are taking these test drives are that the suspension is very impressive. Overall, the car is impressive, but that seems to be taking the cake, and most people are impressed at just how smooth it is. For me, this is a gigantic improvement over what the Model Y used to be, and I think it's long overdue. When the Model Y first launched, the ride quality was incredibly harsh, and then it did get better in time, and Tesla even launched a comfort suspension on more recent years of the Model Y. But with this next generation, it seems that they've really taken it to the next level, and that's great to see on this car, especially since many families want a comfortable ride. The people buying this don't typically want that stiff ride that Tesla can be known for. For this customer, they have a Model X, and they say that the Model Y rides smoother. So the Model Y's normal suspension is riding smoother than an adaptive air suspension in the Model X. Test drives have also begun over in New Jersey, and then I'm excited to see them expand from here, hopefully arriving in California sometime in the near future so I can check it out easily. Of course, though, with this new Model Y launching and the controversy surrounding Tesla right now, people are a bit worried about sales. But over in China, sales and pre-orders of the Model Y are incredible. As a quick overview, for 2024, Tesla sold a total of 1,789,226 vehicles. Of that, in China alone, they sold 657,000 vehicles, which was an 8.8% increase year over year and made up 36.7% of Tesla's global deliveries. That's a very large part of their market share there, and Tesla appears to still be going strong, especially in China, with over 200,000 orders of this brand new Model Y. Considering that for the whole of 2024, they sold 657,000 vehicles, including both Model Ys and Model 3s, already having 200,000 orders of this car before the car is even launched is very impressive. We're less than 2 weeks from first deliveries beginning there, and they should happen fairly quickly over in China, and then I think it's going to be a little bit of a slower process out of their other factories. But given 200,000 orders there, what does the rest of the world look like? Well, for the rest of the world, excluding China in 2024, Tesla sold 1,132,124 vehicles. Their sales dropped in the US 5.6% year over year to 634,000, and for the rest of the world, excluding the US and China, sales were down 13.7%. So if this trend continues, we're likely going to see less pre-orders out of other markets than we're seeing in China. Maybe 250,000 to 300,000 could be expected at about this point across the entire world for what Tesla is seeing with pre-orders. But of course, pre-orders are different than final deliveries. And those estimates are pure speculation and estimation. Either way, though, Tesla has a lot of demand for this car. But one thing that helps them in China specifically, growing that demand and having 200,000 orders, is the fact that there are multiple trims available. In markets like the United States, the launch edition only comes in that $60,000 form. So pre-orders are going to be limited to a certain point because many customers are smartly going to be waiting for the long-range rear-wheel drive version, which they even recently said will be coming later this year. So it's a little easier for them to get more orders in China because they're already offering different trims of this vehicle and more affordable versions, even though they're still considered the launch edition. In Elon's mind, though, autonomy trumps all of this, and really their vehicle sales won't matter long term after their robotaxi becomes a thing. But of course, we're not there yet. It takes time, and it always takes longer than he expects. So for the meantime, Tesla needs to sell their cars. One such change that they've made with the Model Y was a reversal of a previously controversial change, and that was the removal of stocks. Now, the new Model Y will still have shifting done on screen or with auto shift. With auto shift, you can auto shift out of park, but you can also auto shift between different directions and do multi-point turns with it actually doing it for you. I use this in the Model 3 and it's fairly intuitive, although sometimes I do think it could use a bit of work. Still, that's how people will shift, but when it comes to signaling and using turn signals, Tesla added that stock to the Model Y, and this was in direct response to customer feedback. I currently drive a Model 3 with these blinker buttons along with the Cybertruck, and I really don't mind them, but for many customers, this was actually somewhat of a deal breaker. I would see a lot of comments from people saying, I would love to buy this car, but I am not buying it without a turn signal stock. So Tesla put it on the Model Y. And now it looks like they may be making the same decision for the Model 3, because it seems to actually be hurting sales. These rumors are now out saying that Tesla will be adding a turn signal stock to the Model 3, and this is something I kind of wish they had an option for, but it does make sense for them to standardize. The wheel will then have a different placement of buttons since it won't have the turn signal buttons, and the stock will be back there instead. And they'll be standardizing the Model 3 and the Model Y across the board, which overall does make sense for them and for customers. Then the Model S, X, and Cybertruck will probably stick with those blinker buttons because those are their futuristic flagship vehicles that are in low volumes compared to the Model 3 and Y. Elon Musk will of course still think this is dumb, saying, quote, autonomy will make the stock about as useful as an appendix. Now, he's right once we get there, but for now, customers need to drive their cars and need to use buttons, or turn signal stocks, and people prefer stocks. With that said, people are test driving this new Model Y and using that new stock, and some say it's actually pretty cheap feeling. It's very thin and doesn't have a button on the end, so it is a new stock design, and people say it actually feels really cheap. In some sense, I almost feel like Tesla is saying, here, you want a turn signal stock? Here you go. They suck, we told you they suck, and now it sucks even more on the Model Y. Hopefully that's not actually their approach here, and I'll have to test it out for myself to really see what this feels like. But it is an interesting thing that people are saying it feels cheap, since it's kind of an important feature for a lot of people. In any case, soon we could see turn signal stocks return to the Model 3, and I'm curious, are you someone who is holding out on a Model 3 because you wanted a turn signal stock? Are you happy about this change? Leave a comment below to let me know your thoughts, and if you're now buying a Model 3 as a result of this feature hopefully being added. Next up today, Tesla is always running a number of different discounts and incentives to drive sales, especially of their inventory vehicles. First, we saw a lot of them with the Cybertruck recently. Of course, it seems that at this point, Tesla definitely overproduced the Foundation series of the Cybertruck, so they're doing a lot of things to push those cars. First, they're offering incentives up to $4,000 or $6,000 off. And then they're offering free wraps with purchases of Foundation series Cybertrucks. In some cases, these can be a $6,000 value. The Cybertruck in particular will be interesting to watch progress from here, and then hopefully that cheaper model will come out as a rear-wheel drive model. At the same time, for the Model S, Tesla has new incentives there. First off, the Model S includes unlimited free supercharging when you purchase it, and originally that came with a $5,000 price premium. Now that the car is at that price, there are some cars available in inventory that come with these incentives, and then Tesla is now offering all-wheel drive Model S customers a complimentary paid option on the car when buying full self-driving outright. So you pay $8,000 for full self-driving, but you can add a $2,000 paint option for free. Or you could do something else like the $4,500 upgraded wheels. That makes that deal a little more worthwhile, and then you only get one paid option. So of course, if you're upgrading paint as well, you will have to pay for that. Overall, for Model S customers, and especially those who were going to buy FSD already, this is a great deal, and it adds to unlimited free supercharging, which can be a great deal if you drive a lot. That's all the latest Tesla news for today, so in the meantime, if you want to see full details about Tesla's robotaxi business, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.